as Govinda Singh 1984, OSNST, Old South or New South, Unlimited. I'm going to speak in an Indian accent, not to ridicule or insult, simply so it's easier to listen to, easier to the ear for my Indian Facebook friends and Pakistani Facebook friends, just so it's easier to listen to. If I was to sit here and go patikata patikata, that would be insulting, like the stereotypical racist Zionist depiction of Indian people. But this is simply so it's easier to the ear. So as it is June 2018, a lot of people in all the Gurdwaras in Punjab and Mandirs in Punjab are going to be reflecting on what happened in 1984 in regards to Operation Bluestar. So I just wanted to share. I wasn't even born in I wasn't born in June. I was born in November 17th of 1984. So I was just a baby when all these things, atrocities were going on, and so I just wanted to share what I learned. So you can't just start with 1984. What the Khalistanis say, they say the Hindus want to exterminate Sikhism. The Hindus are the enemy of Sikhi, and they come up with all this rhetoric. And I just wanted to show my opposition to that sort of rhetoric. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's good. I think it's poison. So I just wanted to share what I learned. So in regards to understand exactly what is going on in 1984, unless you need to go further back than 1984. So we're going to start with 1947. Now in 1947, after the partitioning of Punjab, Nehru of the Indian National Congress, he assumed his position as Prime Minister. There was never actually a general election throughout India to determine who our Prime Minister was going to be. He just assumed office. And when he came to power, he banned all opposition parties such as Subhash Chandra Bose, Netaji's All India Ford Bloc. He banned the RSS. He banned the Gaddar Party. He basically oppressed all dissent to the Indian National Congress. So many hundreds of thousands of people were detained during the initial 1947 by Nehru's Indian National Congress. Nehru's Indian National Congress then implemented the License Raj, and the License Raj is a policy where farmers throughout India had to go through 80 agencies before being granted a license to trade. Many people would oppose, not just in Punjab, in Uttar Pradesh, in Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, throughout all India, farmers, traders would oppose this License Raj, and many were detained as there was a lot of oppression of the dissent to the Indian National Congress. So Nehru governed through this dictatorship up until his death. There was a Prime Minister after Nehru, but then in the 1970s, Nehru has a daughter. Now Nehru's daughter is Indira Gandhi. Many people mistake Indira Gandhi for being Mahatma Gandhi's daughter, but Mahatma Gandhi did not have, Indira Gandhi is not Mahatma Gandhi's daughter. For some reason they have the same surname, I don't know why, but we'll get to that later. So in 1975, Indira Gandhi, she came back from Oxford in Britain, and she actually didn't qualify in her academics, and she entered politics. She was very corrupt, very conniving, and she was opposed by a minister called Sri Raj Narayan, or I think it's pronounced Sri Raj Narayan, from Uttar Pradesh. And he challenged Indira Gandhi in the High Court, and he was represented by the lawyer Shanti Bhushan. And they opposed Indira Gandhi, and they were exposing Indira Gandhi for corruption, and they defeated Indira Gandhi in 1975. Now, Indira Gandhi then called for a state of emergency, where she clamped down on all opposition, just like her father in 1947 banned all dissent to the Indian National Congress and imprisoned many hundreds of thousands. Now Indira Gandhi, the daughter of Nehru, is doing the same in 1975. So many high-profile ministers such as Sri Raj Narayan, Jaya Prakash Narayan, Lal Krishna Advani of Jana Sangh back then, Chaudhary Charan Singh, there were many, Morarji Desai from the Janata Party. So all opposition to the Indian National Congress were imprisoned. Now upon the release in 1977-1978, Prime Minister of the Minister of Bharatiya Lokdal, Chaudhary Charan Singh of Uttar Pradesh, he called for Indira to be arrested and imprisoned for her corruption during the emergency. And so when you look at what is going on in Punjab during that time, 1977, 1988, 1977, 1978, this is when the Jagjit Singh Chauhan started riling up the youth and riling up people in Punjab to start calling for a separate Sikh nation. And they started calling for independence. There was a bit of a bonpanga, a bit of a hoo-ha with the Nirankari Bhavan. I don't know too much what that was over, but all I know is there was a dispute between the now separatist Khalistani religious fundamentalists and the Nirankari Bhavan. So I think this is a huge headache for the fierce opposition to Indira Gandhi throughout India, especially in Punjab, when there's a viable economic opposition that Punjab can get behind to keep Indira in jail. For us to now be threatened by the Khalistanis for not supporting withdrawal from India, I think is a headache we could have done without. And so the Khalistanis, they started banning all the deras and all the bhavans, and they started putting bombs in marketplaces, shooting people. And so the militancy started taking its toll. Now the Punjab police, they couldn't contain the bombing campaign, so they called for the army to contain what the separatists were now going around doing. But the thing is, Bhindranwala started speaking for the people, but he was a religious preacher. He should not be speaking on behalf of Punjabi or anybody regarding the political affairs of Punjab. So many Punjabi intellectuals were murdered, whether they were Sikh, whether they were Hindu, and I'm sure if they were Buddhist, Christian or Sufi, and they opposed separation of Punjab from India, then they'll also be gunned down and murdered. So it was very dangerous time. So the army was called because they needed assistance. But Indira Gandhi of the Indian National Congress, she's not in a position to point the finger. Who the fuck is she? What is she doing? What did her father do? So now she's come to Punjab on the moral high ground. Oh, look what the Khalistanis are doing. Oh, they're killing people. She needs to look in the mirror, and you killed people during the 1975 state of emergency. What is your problem? Who are you? What are you doing? You're not in a position to contain this situation. You're a killer. You're a murderer. You know, she's a very evil fucking dictator. And so the only people that could have contained the insurgency is the fierce opposition to Indira Gandhi, such as the Jana Sangh Party, the Janata Party, the Bharatiya Lokdal Party, Chaudhary Charan Singh, Jai Prakash Narayan, Sri Raj Narayan, even Lal Krishna Advani of that era. So I want to make it clear now, the Janata Party of the 1970s were angels. What it has fired into in regards to the Bharatiya Janata Party of 2018 is something completely different, something that is very shameful, something very disgusting, very corrupt. So please do not associate the 1978 team, such as the Janata of the 1975 state of emergency, please do not associate them with the same Janata Party of 2018. So that's all I want to say. So only those ministers who are the opposition to the dictator Indira Gandhi can contain the militancy in Punjab. So we all know what happened. Unfortunately, the terrorist Indira Gandhi, she authorized the storming of Sacha Padshah Guru Har Gobind's Akal Takht. Now, regardless of what the separatists were doing, when they were inside in the complex, are they going anywhere? Is there anywhere for them to go? They're not going anywhere. So it could have been besieged until they surrender, because they're not going anywhere. So there was no need to storm whatsoever. No need to storm whatsoever. There's something more sinister, very sinister to why she stormed. And it is very disgusting that she stormed. Because this is a temple, very sacred, Har Mandir. And it is something that she's definitely going to be punished for. She needs to be punished for what she did in 1975. But now she's crossed the line. Now that is the final straw. And so you have the Khalistanis who say, oh, Satwant Singh and Beyant Singh, they killed Indira Gandhi for the support of the Khalistan movement for the separate nation. This is nonsense. This is complete nonsense. They did not, I know this because I talked to them in my sleep. And I know that they did not kill Indira Gandhi for the separate Sikh nation of Khalistan religious fundamentalists. They only killed Indira Gandhi for the sole purpose and the only reason she desecrated the Harmandir, and that is it. So all the killings that the Khalistanis were doing to the Deras, whether they're Radhe Swami, Namdari, Ravidas Bhawan, Dera, the Khalistanis murders are not to be associated with the two Indian soldiers, Satwant Singh and Beant Singh. Now I am in a double mind when it comes to Satwant Singh and Beant Singh, because sometimes it's a good day, bad day. Sometimes I think fucking kill the bitch, kill Indira, fuck her, she crossed the line, that's it. I didn't bat an eyelid when the army was called to contain the militancy in the countryside of the towns because they harassing Punjabi intellectuals. But now she stormed Guru Har Gobind's Akal Takat, Sri Ram Das, Har Har Mandir. Now she's crossed the line. Now I'm going to pick up arms. Now I'm going to take up arms to go after her for storming the Har Mandir. But at the end of the day, some days I think yet it's a good thing Satwant Singh and Beant Singh did when they executed Indira Gandhi. But some days I think maybe we should have stopped them to prevent the devastation in regards to the riots that happened afterwards. But many people were raped and killed. It was a very dangerous time, and I really think that it depends what mood you're in. Sometimes you think she has to die. Sometimes you think, would it be better if we just got behind Chaudhary Charan Singh, Sri Raj Narayan, Cheo Prakash Narayan, just called for Indira's arrest for her to be imprisoned to prevent such a riot from happening. But it's a head fuck. It fucks your head. What do you do? But then part of me thinks that even if the same victim who was raped in the riots after Indira Gandhi was executed, even if the same brother, the son, the father who was set afire and killed and murdered in the streets of New Delhi, even if Indira Gandhi was not killed, even if she was not shot to death, if they stood in the parliament or outside the New Delhi Lok Sabha and said, we put 50% of Punjab's resources, Punjab economy, we put 50% tax contribution to the New Delhi central government. This is for the army, this is for healthcare, this is for education, this is for development, this is for transport. We have no issue with this, along with all the other states, whether it's iron ore, aluminium, fish, tea, cotton, tea. All the highest earning states put 50%. We all put